Hi, I'm Becky Meagher, and welcome to Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Transitions, we all have so many different transitions in our life, and I must say that I use the metaphor of triathlons, and I just did 3 this summer, sprints, and with a triathlon, the first thing you do is you go swim, and then you get in the transition area, and then you go ahead and bicycle. And after that, you get in transition again, and then you run. And that is a great metaphor for life. You know, when we begin our childhood, we have an idea of what we're going to be, and then life gets in the way, and then we change courses so many different times. And it's kind of amazing. And so speaking of amazing, we have an amazing person here. This is actually part 2. Andrew is an amazing dancer. He has danced all over the world. And also he has been in recovery and used the different modalities to help people in that. And there's so much more of his very rich life here in Nashville. So, Andrew, welcome. So glad that you are here.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yes. And we're going to be doing a physical demonstration of what you do with people that are in recovery or just want to get more centered in their life. But give us a short rundown of, you were raised up in New England, had a German father, a businessman, and a mother was a concert pianist. And tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was started off pretty cool. I always say it was Gothic on a good day. I'm writing up all these stories, and the editor said, it's kind of like Tim Burton on acid, your childhood. Right? I think that's a good thing. But no, it was kind of bizarre. My father died, and then my mother got sick, and she died. And, you know, some people run away to the circus or the army. I went to Europe and found myself drawn into the dance world. I met some dancers in Copenhagen, and just out of the blue, I went to the conservatory in Boston as a ballet major, and then I transferred to New York and started dancing, and it really took off very quickly from being very wild teenager with a real love of drugs and alcohol, and the dance world was really intoxicating. But I really also was very drawn to the truth. Like, you know, I used to work a lot with Anna Sokolow, and she would say, "Movement is the truth, art with truth."
The truth.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Even if you got off the music, she would say, "You're lying. The rhythm is the truth." Like, to be honest with your movement, to not be faking it. So, but I danced with like 15 different people, and I did some good shows and some silly shows, and yeah, I survived on the bourbon and the cocaine and the cigarettes, traveling all over. But I was looking for a deeper truth, and you know, and when I got to be in my early 40s, and I was some of my first trips to Nashville, and I really had an epiphany in a pool hall, seeing myself in a mirror, that this wasn't working out. You know,
that physically, you, because of the alcohol and the cigarettes and all that, you looked at yourself and went,
nope. That's not good. That's not, yeah. And also just the physical damage of dancing. You know, like, you know, I wasn't. I mean, I was a little prince a couple of times. Most of the time, I was doing real heavy duty, you know, theater and modern dance stuff. You know, just like diving on the floor and really heavy duty.
Wow,
you know,
and catching,
just slamming into each other, and yeah, it was like. Aesthetic roller derby, you know, and it was like very tough, you know, and traveling is not that good for you. And so, you know, as my body started to deteriorate and I found sobriety, I started training in all the different modalities that might help my own body. And then I got really thinking and putting it together, what would recovery look like, and how, you know, how did all this stuff happen to lead me to this place? So I went out to Well, I was still dancing some, but my body was really falling apart. I mean, they were going to fuse my spine, and my arm was pretty much paralyzed. I had these little metal things on my fingers because they were all curled in. It was pathetic. And nun shoes, like these big clunky shoes, and I went out to Naropa, the Buddhist university in Boulder, and did this program where my thesis, and it was in a master's program at Naropa. It was called Authentic Leadership, and my thesis was putting together what these workshops would look like. And I was really using my own experience. As I said in the last segment, Leonard Bernstein was. I was involved very much with the Leonard Bernstein Center for learning through creativity and learning through the arts. And but he would say you have to scout the territory and then guide other people through it. And I just started to really doing a lot of therapy, and a lot of recovery work and a lot of body work. And I kept getting certified in any therapeutic technique or any physical technique that helped me.
And name some Bowen.
Bowen therapy, transactional analysis, Pilates, Chinese medical Qigong, Kabbalah, Jewish studies, Feldenkrais, Alexander. I don't do those so much anymore. Reflexology, just everything that felt like it was helping my body.
Wow, and you were just like a sponge. All these different modalities.
Yeah. And with the things like Bowen and Pilates, and I was at the Estuary, the School of Healing Arts here. I love Susan Crumpton and that whole school. And what I would do is go through the program and then apprentice and teach it. And that's how I really learned the Bowen and the Qigong, like just really starting to apprentice with these master teachers. And then in Boulder, I started putting it together and really codifying what worked for me and what was my journey, and how could I translate that to other people?
Help other people through all the things that you've gone through.
Yeah, there was a specific moment at the Ryman here in Nashville where I was performing, and it was sold out, and it was really fun, and everybody was standing up and clapping, and I was just thinking, if they keep clapping, I'm going to miss dinner, and I thought, wait a minute, and it was like, this is not feeding my soul, And I used to, when I was little and I was at Lincoln Center and I'd be stepping out onto the stage, it was like, oh my God, I was so scared. It was like so that fear was going somewhere new. Plato says the cave you're afraid of going into is the one you've been seeking. Then to this day now, we're doing these workshops. I'm nervous driving out there. Who are they going to be? Are they going to like it? Is it going to work for them? And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. I'm stepping into new territory, and I care.
And you care, right?
And so the first 30 years, I sound like a very old person. The first 30 years was really me getting clapped for. I mean, I was always trying to do serious work that I cared about here in Nashville with the Tennessee Dance Theater and the 15 different companies in New York.
Wow.
Like I was trying to do things that were meaningful, but it was still, there's a lot of ego involved, and it's a lot of, getting clapped for,
Right.
Yeah.
Bravo, bravo.
Wow, deep diva, and so at the program in Naropa, I was really putting together these workshops of what would it do. The first thing, like I'm so sick of this metaphor, but the first thing you have to do when the airplane loses oxygen is put your own mask on. The first thing is to find your own center. Then once you've had that, then you can start relating to another person and developing, trust and
center yourself.
Yeah. And then if you can maintain that with another person, then you can have trust and boundaries and interdependence. And then and then after that, you can be part of a community. If you can come with yourself. And I always think community is the opposite of trauma. I joke about being a recovering alcoholic and a recovering German. Because in Germany you march in line.
Yes.
And you want to be part of a community where each person is an individual and centered in their own body.
And you're scouting and guiding them so they can find out what they need to do to get better, to have joy in their hearts.
Yeah, and you're also not not cutting out anything in your life. I wouldn't wish my childhood on anybody, but I use every single, it's like a tapestry. It's like all these different experiences. And you know, when I have a bunch of young guys and they're acting out, I know right where they are. Or I have somebody the person hiding in the corner. Oh God, I know right where it's not being judgmental. I can find that place in myself.
Right. So I know we're going to do a little demonstration, but before we do that, give us a little idea. For instance, you teach, it might be, you call it young men, like a class of 15 young men, or and you walk in and they see you once a week for a month or something, or give us a little idea. What
really
is the
varies.
structure?
I'm trying. I have a beautiful studio in 5 Points, where I'm trying to
East
do
Nashville.
in East Nashville, yeah, and I'm trying to do more of my own workshops. The whole treatment center thing, I can't count how many treatment centers I've worked in, but you know, it is a little bit of a false, like you come to this place and everything's perfect and everything's taken care of you, and often when you leave it's like watching your tan fade after a nice beach vacation, you know. And I really try to give them tools they can actually take with them into the world to maintain sobriety. A joke I make too much is I have them all drop to the side and come up and drop to the side, and I say people who are centered all the time are called liars. Nobody's centered all the time.
Right.
People who are in recovery have the consciousness of when they're off center, and they've developed tools to recenter. So it's having agency over your own narrative. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to instill. So I go to these different treatment centers and I work with them 4 or 5 times, and that's lovely. And then I have private clients I work with, and I'm doing more and more workshops, you know, at my place.
So more people, they're not necessarily in a treatment center, that they're going about their lives. They can take a workshop and go ahead and learn this and incorporate that in their life.
Hopefully, that's the whole trick, is to get them to really, like, they've done a lot of research, mostly at UCLA, where people in any kind of recovery, from trauma, from addiction, from sexual addiction, food, anorexia, anything, who have a daily practice, it can be 5 minutes, that gets their breath and their body connected, they have a 78% higher chance of maintaining recovery. I am not a little angel, but I've been clean and sober for 33 years.
Ooh, that's a fantastic thing.
Yeah, it's by noticing when something's off and taking action. Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at, and you're going to show me what some of these actions that you teach are, and I'm going to be a sponge and listen to you.
Sounds good.
Okay. Andrew, now you're about to show us what you teach when you are teaching in a classroom, well, actually in a recovery site.
Or anywhere.
or anywhere, or your own
in the
studio.
supermarket.
So you're going to kind of do some demonstrations, and you're going to teach me.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's the first thing to do is to just check in with yourself. And it sounds so basic, but so few people do that. If you just think that you have a frame, shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip, belly button, and just notice, are you in front of yourself? Are you behind yourself? Are you beside yourself? Just feel that frame. I'm sure you know Da Vinci's Vitruvian guy. You know, the guy in the square with the circle?
Yeah.
And you just feel that frame and be aware. Where are you in relationship to that? Now, you have a center, and I love the word attune, to just attune with your center. Now, at the conservatory, they made me go to MIT for anatomy and kinesiology, and at the Swedish Institute, they did too. So I know you don't have lungs in your feet, but I learned that in school. But if you can just pretend for this breath, it's a Chinese breath, ancient Chinese breath, where you just open your nostrils really wide and pull the air down to the base of your spine, to your perineum, and then exhale through both feet. And take another one of those in through your nose and out through your feet. Now just imagine the air going through your body like water running through a riverbed, and notice, where is there any blockage? Where is there any pain? Is there any Any part of your body talking to you, just tune in. If once a day you can just listen to your own body with compassion and curiosity. My right knee is a little funny. I wonder what that means. Oh, maybe I'm pushing a little bit too much. Maybe I should relax my knees and be more buoyant. You know, maybe it's in my heart. Maybe I have some anxiety going on. Where in your body? When I'm doing the workshops with the guys, the first thing we do is take a few of those breaths, and then each person checks in just by saying their first name, like you do in a meeting, and where in their body needs attention. And just by tuning in once a day like that, it changes everything. And also, you know, when I was dancing, we had a very antagonistic relationship to our bodies. It was like a demolition derby. If my foot was broken, I'd go, the foot is bad, as opposed to my foot hurts. You know, and it's semantics, but it really is a different relationship to your body. It's not a demolition derby. You know, it's not like, whoops, there goes the knee, there goes the shoulder. It's like, it's a self-cleaning oven. And if you can listen to it, it's telling you stuff, right? So you have that center. And yeah, that's a Chinese breath. In through your nose to your perineum and out through both feet. Now, I love to start with this Chinese thing. It's called Pulling Down Heaven. I just love the name, Pulling Down Heaven. And we usually do it 3 times, and it's just to find that true center, you know, because your center is not brittle, it's alive. In China, they call it bamboo in the wind. I sometimes call it a tuning fork. It's alive, it's buzzing. So you just let your arms float up to the side, and this is turn them over. That's called cracking open the universe. And reach up and just imagine that center, pulling it down. I am here. I am present. We usually do it 3 times. Let your arms float up. And just anything you need is imagine it showering down like a shower of energy, a shower of chi. And the 3rd time up. And put one hand on top of the other. And just like you're pushing a ball under the water, guide it down. Guide it down, and just below your belly button, press it in smaller and brighter, till it's just like a shining pearl in the center, filling you with light. Now just imagine that light filling any dark place with light, healing every cell of your body, shining out of your pores like grace. And relax your arms and just circle around a little bit. That's your true center. It's not brittle, it's alive. It's flexible. You can go off of it and come back to it, right? And one of the first true things is finding that center. Anyone or anything that reinforces that, do more of. Anyone or anything that depletes it, do less of it. So many of us are imprinted, you know, like how little ducks follow their mama, they pick up a bug or jump in the water. So many of us didn't quite have perfect parents, you know, and we imprinted other behaviors. So, oh, he's really mean to me, I'll hang out with him. Or that feels familiar, she is ignoring me. As opposed to what is truly centering, what is truly nurturing. I sometimes have people actually carry a notebook around, and when they feel good, when something feels centered, write that down. Do more of those things. Yeah. So that, you know, that's one thing. But a thing that happens a lot is that this right here, this, if I can touch your head right here, that's where the blood gets into your brain.
Okay.
And we're not going to have a quiz, but right above that is, it's called the amygdala. It's these little nerve centers. And when they get activated, it's 1/24th of a second before your body reacts. And if you have addictive behavior, it could be grabbing a drink or hitting send on the computer or punching somebody in the nose, right? And when this goes off, Dr. Van der Kolk in his book, The Body Keeps the Score, calls this the smoke alarm going off. And it's a fight, flight, or freeze. Most of the time, you can't fight because they're bigger than you. You can't run away, you're trapped. So we freeze. Freeze is the most common one. And everything shuts down. But what you want to do is notice where in your body is giving you messages all the time. A lot of research says it's 24 hours before this is going to go off. This little messages coming from your body. I call it checking the dashboard, because, and it's a pretty good metaphor, because if you've ever been driving and your oil light comes on, you're already out of luck. So it's better to do it preventatively. I do this several times a day. I mean, you're not going to believe this, but when I was little, I was kind of a diva. No,
Really?
no. But I prefer the term show pony. But my go-to reaction was anger. If they weren't going fast enough at the grocery store, or the light didn't change fast enough, and now I seriously have rerouted the neurons in my brain to think, I have 2 minutes. I can check my dashboard. And it's so simple. It's so simple. Let's just try it. Okay. I do this several times. I do it waiting in line at the grocery store. They know that. So your feet are actually 26 bones in there. And just scrunch up your feet, make a fist out of your feet, and fan them out. I would say about 100% of the people that come to me with anxiety have cold feet. The circulation isn't getting down to the ground.
I get cold feet.
Oh, I'm not saying anything. Being grounded is simply feeling the ground. Then your knees are like your shock absorbers. So you want them going right over the center of your feet. And just literally when they lock, you're out of touch with the ground. Just simply, the knees aren't hinges. They're more like springs. Just, boom, keep that looseness. Now with the hips, just wiggle your hips out and in. I'll show you another way to do this later. Waking up the hips. On the tree of life, which is a beautiful body metaphor, the hips are where addiction lives. Isn't that right at the base, right? And it can also be your persistence. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into that. It's complicated. But just feeling those hips, that base, and having that centered. If you've ever seen a waiter and the bottom carrying a pile of plates, if the bottom plate moves, the whole stack goes. So just getting this base right here, just rotating the hip sockets. Can you feel that out and in? Now the next thing I like to do on the dashboard is check your hands. Because the heart meridian in Chinese medicine runs right into your hands. That anxiety in the heart, this is like a barometer of how the anxiety is doing. So many times you can talk to somebody and they say, I'm feeling great. And you go, what are those hawk talons on the end of your wrists, right? Just shake it out. Just shake it out. Now, I know this sounds silly, but just anything you don't want, just throw it away. Just throw it away. Throw it away. I do this in the supermarket, but I do it a little smaller so I don't scare people. Now, so you got your feet and your knees and your hips and your hands. The shoulders are super important. In anatomy school, they're called residual joints, meaning the bone resides in the socket. And as soon as someone gets tense, they go up a little bit.
I do that myself.
Yeah, me too. That's my big one. Yeah, and the supraspinatus, the long thoracic nerve, the delts, all this stuff is controlling it. Once you lift it up like that, you're grinding all those things like making pesto in there. You want to just let them sit down there. And let's just try taking your shoulders up to your ears and back and down. Good, and come home. There's a nice thing the Navy SEALs do called a square breath. You might as well do that. Inhale, hold it with your shoulders back, exhale down, and let them come back. Isn't that nice? Yeah. And now the spine, every nerve in your body is connected to that spinal cord. Just drop your tailbone into the ground like a carpenter's plumb line, you know, that little weight, or like an arrowhead. Just drop your tailbone. And then right here between your mandible, that's the atlas joint, that's the top vertebra. Lengthen that up to the ceiling. Isn't that cool? And then right in here, that's where the blood gets into your brain. And this is really important. This one, how your cranium floats on that atlas joint is like really, really important. So if you're in front of yourself or beside yourself, right, you're cutting off the blood supply to your brain. It's like cutting off the oil to your car engine, right? So just take your head side to side, like an empty bowl on a stick, and drop it down, and way up, and drop it down, and center your skull. Now the last thing in that dashboard is to check your heart. Feel how your heart rate is going, right? And the heart is neurologically connected to the other rhythm of your body, the rhythm of your lungs. So the heart's going boom, 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 boom. When it starts to accelerate, check in with the rhythm of your breath, which is like the rhythm of the waves, and it calms it down. So just let's take that breath we took before, in through your nose and out through both feet. There, it already starts to calm down. Inhaling is an involuntary muscle reflex. If you let the air all the way out, the new air will come in all by itself. Isn't that cool?
Oh.
So do you feel centered? Do you feel that nice centered? It's alive, and right? So once you have that center, then you can relate to another person. Hi, how are you? Just take your hands up for a second. You feel that just buzz? You know, the human body is sending off and receiving 1 million electrons every minute. You feel that buzz? Now we can make a contact. You have your center, and I have my center. If I'm trying to change myself so you like me better, or if I'm trying to change you, that's codependent. Ah. If we just each have our own center and help, just see if you can rise up. I know we have funny shoes on. And pull it down. Cool. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. There's you and there's me. Between the two of us is a center. And if we honor that, we're honoring the relationship. And it's interdependent, not interdependent as opposed to codependent. You know, codependent is, Becky, hold me up, I can't stand up. Or, you know, or independent is, I'm G.I. Joe, I need nobody. But this right here, we're interdependent. We're two separate people, and we have a center right between us. Beautiful. And pull it down. Cool.
That is wonderful.
That's fun.
Yes.
So that's a mini thing. A lot of what I try to do is to go from I am, finding your own center, to you are. How do you relate to another person without losing your center? And then with the groups of people, we can come together and do group exercises together. And that's we are. So it goes from I am to you are to we are. And I always think that community is the opposite of trauma, when you can be yourself in a community of people.
With a community of people.
Yeah.
And you will be doing workshops.
Yes.
And tell me the name again of your
Experience. My space is called Creative Action,
right.
And the workshops are called Experiential Movement Therapy. And I'm trying to put this all into a book called The Indigo Thread, which is finished.
The book,
which is,
yes.
And the Indigo Thread is like finding like that first moment of beauty in your life that you can remember, and how it threads through your life, and what stories happened, and how you followed that thread and when you ignored it. And how to reconnect with that indigo thread from your childhood.
Oh, so you feel that people ignored it, but then they can reconnect.
You can I can vouch for that. You can reconnect to that.
You're a prime example of that.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. And it sounds like it will also be a great day when people can read your book and watch the show and learn just an inkling of what they can do with their body and their spiritual self and their centering inside themselves too.
Yes.
So, Andrew, thank you very much, and stay tuned. Thank you. Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit.
Did we make it? God, it goes fast. Was that okay?
Woo, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
That was good. That was fun. You did great.
Yeah, well, you did great. I mean, it's such a learning experience, and it makes me want to sign me up.